Today, I need to talk to you about something that genuinely keeps me awake at night. Because over the past year, I've watched more senior travelers walk away from airport gates confused, embarrassed, and heartbroken. Not because they made a mistake, but because nobody clearly explained what had changed. As we move into 2026, airport enforcement has become much stricter, and travelers over 70 are being affected first, not because of age discrimination, but because the system now assumes everyone already knows the updated rules, and many seniors don't, because these changes didn't exist when they learned how to travel. You might be thinking, I've been flying my whole life. I know airports. I know the process. And you're probably right. Your experience is real. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Airports no longer work the way they did even 2 years ago. Documentation checks are tighter, security procedures are less flexible, boarding policies are enforced with almost zero discretion at the gate. And if you arrive relying on habits that used to work, you can be denied boarding, not because you did anything wrong, but because you weren't warned in plain language. This isn't theory. This is real-world experience from someone who works the aisle, hands out that extra blanket, and sees exactly what happens when passengers don't know their rights or the new expectations. Just last month, I watched a 73-year-old man miss his daughter's wedding. He had a valid ticket, he arrived early, but his ID no longer met federal flight requirements. The gate agent had no flexibility, the door closed, the plane left without him. I don't want that to be you. If you want practical, honest travel guidance straight from the galley, not rumors, not panic, just real information, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button now. And tell me in the comments, are you over 70 or are you helping a senior traveler prepare for an upcoming flight? I read every single comment, and I build these videos based on what you actually need. All right, let's get into it. I'm going to walk you through 11 critical things you must know before you step foot in an airport in 2026. These are not suggestions, these are requirements, and I'll explain exactly how to handle each one so nothing catches you off guard. We'll start with the issue causing the most confusion right now.
Number 1. The Real ID deadline. Go ahead and take out your driver's license for a moment. Look at the top portion of the card. Do you see a small star either inside a circle or cut into the outline of your state? That star is the Real ID indicator. If your license does not have that star, TSA will not accept it for domestic air travel under current enforcement standards. That rule has been active since May 2025, and there are no exceptions made at the checkpoint. Now, if your license isn't Real ID compliant, don't panic. You still have safe alternatives. A valid U.S. passport or passport card is always acceptable for domestic flights, and many seniors already have one tucked away and don't realize it can be used instead. But if you do not have a passport and your license is missing that Real ID star, you need to schedule a DMV appointment as soon as possible. Not next month, not when things slow down. As the enforcement deadline approaches, DMV appointments are booking weeks out, and walk-ins are often turned away. I've watched this play out more times than I can count. One passenger, Margaret, was 76 and traveling to meet her first great-grandchild. She arrived at the airport 3 hours early, followed every instruction, and still couldn't get through security because her license didn't have that star. No one had ever explained it to her. She missed the flight, had to rebook at her own expense, and lost the chance to be there on that baby's first day home. Please don't let that be you. Take 2 minutes today and check your ID.
Number 2. Medical documentation. Let's clear up one of the biggest myths I hear every single week. You do not need a doctor's note just because you're over 70. Age alone does not trigger medical clearance, and airlines are not allowed to require documentation based on age. However, and this is important, certain medical situations now require advanced documentation, and enforcement became stricter toward the end of 2025. Here's the real rule. If you require supplemental oxygen, use a wheelchair beyond normal airport distances, or have a condition that could reasonably require medical attention during the flight, airlines may require a medical clearance form submitted 48 to 72 hours before departure. This process used to be more flexible. It is not anymore. Most airlines use some version of what's commonly called a MEDIFIF, or Medical Information Form. The name varies by airline. Delta may list it under Special Service Requests. United refers to Accessible Travel Services. American labels it Special Assistance. Different names, same purpose. All of them require confirmation from a physician that you are fit to fly. Here's exactly what to say when you call the airline. I need to submit medical clearance documentation for my upcoming flight. Can you email me the required form? They'll send it directly. Have your doctor complete it and submit it at least 48 hours before departure. This step is not optional. Without approved documentation on file, a gate agent has the authority to deny boarding if they believe there is a risk of an in-flight medical emergency. If you're healthy, flying independently, and not using medical equipment or assistance, you don't need this. But if there's any uncertainty, even something you think is minor, it's always safer to confirm in advance. Having documentation you never end up needing is far better than needing it when it's too late. If you're healthy, flying independently, and not using medical equipment or assistance, you don't need to submit any medical forms. But if there's even a small question, maybe you occasionally use a cane, maybe you have a cardiac condition, or maybe you've had recent treatment, call the airline ahead of time. I always tell passengers this: it's far better to have documentation you never end up needing than to need it when you're already standing at the gate. Trust me on that.
Number 3, prescription medication rules. This one catches people off guard more than almost anything else. As we move into 2026, TSA enforcement around prescription medications has become stricter, especially for liquid medications and controlled substances. The rules themselves didn't suddenly appear, but enforcement is far less flexible than it used to be. Here's what many senior travelers don't realize. Your medications should be carried in their original pharmacy-labeled containers whenever possible. Not a pill organizer, not a plastic bag. The original bottle with your name, the prescribing provider, and the medication clearly printed on the label. When medications are separated into daily organizers, TSA officers may have difficulty verifying what they are and who they belong to. In situations involving controlled substances, that uncertainty can lead to delays or, in some cases, confiscation while things are reviewed. I know, that's inconvenient, but here's the reason. TSA must be able to confirm that the medication is legally prescribed to you. Without a label, they have no reliable way to do that, and with increased scrutiny around opioids and similar medications, they're not taking chances. Here's the smart workaround. Before you travel, ask your pharmacist for a duplicate labeled bottle with just the amount you need for your trip. Many pharmacies will do this at no cost if you explain you're flying. Keep that bottle in your carry-on, never in checked luggage. Bags get delayed. Bags get lost. Your blood pressure or heart medication cannot afford to disappear. For liquid medications, things like insulin, liquid antibiotics, or other medically necessary fluids, you are allowed to bring amounts greater than the standard limit, but you must declare them at the security checkpoint. Don't tuck them into your bag and hope no one notices. Walk up to the TSA officer and say, "I have medically necessary liquids in my bag that exceed the standard limit." They'll screen the bag, test the liquids, and send you on your way. It usually adds 2 or 3 minutes. That's it. One more important tip. If you use injectable medications like insulin pens or EpiPens, carry a printed copy of your prescription or a brief doctor's note. It's not legally required, but it makes the process significantly smoother. I've seen passengers delayed for 20 minutes simply because an officer wasn't immediately sure what an injection device was. A simple prescription printout clears that up instantly.
Number 4, TSA screening for seniors. Everyone has heard of TSA PreCheck, and yes, it's fantastic. Shoes stay on, belts stay on, laptops stay in your bag. It's one of the best stress reducers in air travel. But here's something most seniors don't know. Travelers 75 and older are allowed certain accommodations even in the standard TSA screening line. This policy has been in place for several years, and yet very few people are told about it. If you're 75 or older, you are permitted to keep your shoes and light outerwear on during regular screening. You may still be asked to remove a belt if it has a large metal buckle, but your shoes can stay on. You don't need to pay for TSA PreCheck to receive this accommodation. Here's exactly what to do. When you reach the security officer, calmly say, "I'm 75 and I'd like to keep my shoes on during screening." They'll guide you accordingly.
No argument, no explanation required. This is official TSA policy, and it's there to reduce fall risk and unnecessary strain. Use it. If you're under 75 but over 70 and thinking, so where does that leave me? Here's my honest crew advice. Get TSA PreCheck. It costs $78 for 5 years, which breaks down to just over $1 a month. That's less than a single checked bag fee, and the time and stress it saves are worth far more than the price. You apply online, schedule a short appointment at an enrollment center, and most people are approved within 2 to 3 weeks. No tests, no paperwork beyond basic identification. Now here's the part most people are never told. Many credit cards automatically reimburse the TSA PreCheck fee. Cards like Chase Sapphire Reserve, Capital One Venture, and several American Express cards cover the full cost. Before you pay out of pocket, check your card benefits. You may already have this benefit and not even realize it. Number 5. Pre-boarding. This one matters more than almost anything else. By federal law, airlines must allow passengers who need extra time or assistance to board before general boarding begins. Seniors are included, but the key issue is this: airlines don't always announce it clearly, and many older travelers feel uncomfortable asking. Let me tell you something from 15 years working the aisle. We want you to pre-board. We would much rather help you get settled calmly than watch you struggle down a crowded aisle with hundreds of people waiting behind you. It's safer for you, easier for the crew, and it keeps the boarding process moving smoothly. Here's what qualifies you. If you need extra time to sit, store your bag, manage a mobility aid, or simply move without rushing, you qualify. Age by itself isn't the trigger. Needing additional time is. And realistically, many travelers over 70 do need that extra time. Here's exactly what to say at the gate. I'd like to request pre-boarding because I need extra time to get settled. That's it. No explanation, no medical note, no justification. You're not asking for a favor, you're exercising a right. The gate agent will allow you to board during the pre-boarding phase, which usually comes right after active duty military and families traveling with small children. Some airlines call it priority boarding, others call it courtesy boarding. Different names, same outcome. You board early, free of charge. I once watched a couple in their early 70s wait until their boarding group was called because they didn't want to bother anyone. The husband was using a cane, and by the time they reached their row, he was exhausted and nearly fell lifting his bag. If they had pre-boarded, we would have helped them with no rush, no crowd, and no risk. Please ask for pre-boarding. We're there to help you. Number 6, mobility device screening. If you use a cane, walker, wheelchair, or any mobility aid, TSA updated its screening procedures in 2025, and it's important to know what will happen so nothing catches you off guard. Here's what changed. TSA now uses enhanced screening methods for mobility devices. That means your device may be swabbed for explosive residue or screened separately using advanced equipment. This is routine, it's not personal, and it's not targeted. But if you don't expect it, it can feel intrusive. Here's how the process works. When you arrive at security, tell the officer, "I use a mobility device and I need assistance." They'll guide you to an appropriate screening lane. Your device will be inspected by hand or scanner, and you'll either walk through the metal detector or receive a pat-down if walking isn't possible. Now, let's talk about security screening and mobility, because this is where a lot of older travelers feel intimidated, and they shouldn't. If you cannot stand or walk through the metal detector, you are not required to force yourself. You are allowed to remain seated in your wheelchair or mobility device while TSA completes screening. TSA will conduct a pat-down screening while you're seated. This is fully permitted under TSA policy. This is your right. Here's the exact phrase that works every time. "I need to remain seated for screening due to mobility limitations." Say it calmly, say it confidently. They will accommodate you. And if anyone gives you pushback or confusion, don't argue, ask for a TSA supervisor. Supervisors are specifically trained on disability accommodations and will ensure the process is handled correctly and respectfully. One insider tip that makes everything smoother: if you're traveling with a collapsible wheelchair, walker, or rollator, collapse it before you reach the security belt, if you can. It moves through the X-ray faster and prevents delays. If you need help collapsing it, ask a TSA officer or airline staff member.
Helping you is literally part of their job.
Number 7. Wheelchair assistance. This part is critical. If you need wheelchair assistance at the airport, you must request it when you book your ticket or at least 48 hours before your flight. Not at the airport, not at check-in, 48 hours in advance. Here's why. Airlines don't employ wheelchair attendants directly. They contract third-party companies, and those companies staff based on advance requests. If you show up needing a wheelchair without pre-requesting it, you may wait 30 minutes or longer for someone to become available. I've personally seen seniors miss flights simply because wheelchair assistance wasn't arranged ahead of time. When booking online, look for a section called Special Services or Accessibility Requests. Check the box for wheelchair assistance. If you're booking by phone, say this clearly. I need wheelchair assistance from check-in to the gate and from the gate to baggage claim on arrival. Be specific. That tells the airline exactly what to schedule. If you already booked and forgot to request it, call the airline now and say, use them. Now I want to hear from you. What's your biggest concern about flying as a senior traveler? Is it the security lines, the long walks, medical equipment? Drop your answer in the comments below. I read every single one, and your questions help me create content that truly serves you. If this video helped you, share it with a senior traveler in your life. Send it to your parents, your grandparents, or a neighbor planning a trip. This information could save a vacation or prevent a serious injury. And if you haven't already, subscribe and ring the notification bell so you never miss an insider secret. I've got videos coming up on free upgrades, what to do when flights are canceled, and crew secrets airlines don't want you to know. Thank you so much for flying with me today. I'm Flight Decoder, and I'll see you in the next one.